Okay, guys, it's getting ready to be week one of the NFL season, starting off Thursday night with an excellent game of the Eagles and the Cowboys playing. Way to kick off the NFL season. So this video here, we're going to talk about week one fantasy football. I know it's everybody should have already drafted, had your teams ready to go. So we're going to talk about the top five players at each position and some sneaky picks that I think might do well outside of the standard top 10 or top five guys that are going right now. So did a little reviewing, kind of went over several different sites to kind of rank players and see where they at. And so this is a collective overall ranking of top fives based on the big time guys that are out there: ESPN, CBS, Rotoball, Sports Illustrated, Fantasy Pros. Just kind of put them all together and say, hey, this is where everybody ended up and what they've got, who they're playing, and things like that. So without further ado, we will move on. Okay, so again, week one fantasy football, top five overall ranking of the players and where they sit, and then again a couple sneaky picks to kind of go with. So quarterbacks, you've got Josh Allen number one, Jalen Hurts number two, Lamar Jackson number three, Jaden Daniels number four, and Joe Burrow number five. Really like all five guys. Not sure about Allen going against that Baltimore defense. It's in Buffalo. He did beat them last year, but again, Josh does not normally perform well against Baltimore and that defense. So really going to see how that works out because again, the Ravens have supposedly got a great defense this year, and they were a top three defense at the end of last season. Has nothing to do with this season, but we'll go from there. Number two guy, Jalen Hurts. Absolutely love him going against Dallas. I think Dallas is going to have one of the worst defenses in the league. It's only going to get worse with Micah not being there. And being a Bills fan, I know all about Kyrie Elam. I'd love to see him perform well, but I'm not really trusting that combination there of cornerbacks they've got going with Bland and Kyrie Elam. So love Jalen Hurts in the number two spot. Lamar Jackson, number three, going against Buffalo. He usually does pretty well in the regular season, not so much in the playoffs. But again, this is a regular season game, so I expect him to do well, especially with that Buffalo defensive line. A lot of questions about that, and they just lost some depth in Dwayne Carter going out for the year with an Achilles injury. So really, Derrick Henry, that running game is really going to test Buffalo's defense, which has been the Buffalo's defense's Achilles heel for years is the run. Now they do play to give up the run, but really tough when you go against a team that's as well that runs the ball as well as the Ravens do. Jaden Daniels number four, love that pick. Little concerned though, if that Giants defensive line is what everybody's predicting it to be, which is a top three defensive line this year. I mean, they have tons of talent. They've got massive first round picks on that line, so they can get after the quarterback. The other thing too is, a lot of these young rookie QBs, they come out their first year, people don't really know how to game plan against them, so they have a lot of success because people are nervous, especially with a runner like Jaden last year. People were nervous to blitz and get people around him, and open up those run lanes. So maybe we see the Lamar Jackson effect where basically people, try to bracket the rush, keep him in the pocket, and make him prove that he can beat them with his arm as opposed to his legs, which a lot of his success last year was when the pocket would break down and people would get busted coverages and things like that. So I like it, but again, that giant defensive line could give him problems. And Joe Burrow going against Cleveland, I mean, come on, they have no offense. They're going to have no offense all season. So Joe Burrow should really smoke these guys. I know the Cleveland defense is good, but based on when your offense can't just sustain anything on the field, your defense eventually wears down. And Joe Burrow was an excellent quarterback, pretty much has all his returning weapons. So I'm honestly shocked that Joe Burrow isn't rated higher just based on who he's playing. But again, that's the deal there. So Allen, Hurts, Jackson, Daniels, Burrow in that order. Now, two of my sneaky picks that I like after reviewing all the quarterbacks and who they're playing and stuff is one, Bo Nix. He had an excellent rookie year last year, so it'll be curious to see how teams play him this year with now that they have a year of game tape on him and see what he does. But he does have Sean Payton I think they did improve the offense around him as far as weapons go. He does have a top-rated offensive line. So, like Bo Nix at home versus Tennessee, I think Tennessee is going to be terrible this year. I think they're truly going through a rebuild stage. So, again, I think Bo Nix should easily handle that game and put up some good stats. The other one I have is Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence going at home at Carolina with that new head coach, Liam Cohen. You see what he did for Baker Mayfield in Tampa. I think the offense has improved. They got some good weapons out there. Brian Thomas coming into a second year. I really like their three-headed monster at running back of the rookie Tootin, Bigsby, who came on strong last year after he finally took over the number one role from Etienne. And Etienne was the number one pick. He did have a couple solid seasons. But again, that three-headed monster could turn out very well. So those are my two sneaky picks at quarterback. Bo Nix going at home at Tennessee, and then Trevor Lawrence at home at Carolina. Okay, moving on to the running back situation. So my guy, I think if you drafted him this year in your fantasy football league, I think you by far are going to have an excellent shot at bringing home the crown this year, which is Bijan Robinson of Atlanta. I just think that dude's a stud. I think they finally put it together last year, and I think he's headed for a massive, massive season. In fact, anybody I talked to in fantasy football, I said he should be the number one pick because he's going to get touches, and he is a game-breaking, the old traditional bell cow back of somewhere between 20 and 25 touches a game, and he's going to break off massive deals. I just hope that Atlanta doesn't overuse him this year and wear him out for future years. But this year, I think your number one running back by far will be Bijan Robinson. And he's playing Tampa Bay. Decent team, but again, they're not solid on special on anything on defense. I think they're average, run-of-the-mill. Now, number two is Saquon Barkley. I'm very nervous about Barkley. I don't know how much people pay attention to this stat, but he had close to 500 touches in the season last year. And for those of you that played fantasy football for a long time, those of you know that when a running back has a 400 plus touch season, usually the following year their production dips by about 40%. It's across the board. No running back has ever gotten out of this and done well. So I think the best season ever had after a 400 touch season or a 2,000 yard season was Adrian Peterson, but even his dipped by 40%. I think he went from 2,000 yards to somewhere around 1,500 yards. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, still a good season, but that's a dramatic dip. And we also have to remember Barkley has not been the healthiest player, and two, he is getting older as a running back. Usually peak prime seasons for fantasy running backs are rookie years till about 25, 26, maybe 27. So we'll see how it goes. But for this matchup, again, I think Dallas has a terrible defense. So I'm loving Barkley at the number 2 spot going at Dallas, opening up the season, especially when it's a Thursday night game. Number 3, we got Jamar Gibbs. I absolutely love this guy. I think he's going to grow and be even more of a dominant back, the clear number 1 in that offense, where he does a little timeshare with David Montgomery, the Sonic and Knuckles combination. But I think he's growing into his role and starting to hit his peak fantasy years. Playing at home against Green Bay, again, I don't think Green Bay's run defense is anything to talk home about. I think actually the trade for Micah and Kenny Clark makes the run defense worse for Green Bay, because Kenny Clark to me was a run stopper. Micah is a pass rusher that he's not really great at defending the run. If you run at him, you can run him over, and now he's going to have to take some kind of ejection to play. So again, love Gibbs in the 2 role. The number 4 guy surprises the heck out of me, but hey, he's out there, so I'm gonna give it to you the facts. We've got Christian McCaffrey coming in at number 4 at home at Seattle. Again, don't really love it, but a lot of people have faith that this is going to be a bounce back year for McCaffrey. He missed an entire season, so maybe that helps him out. He really has only played about half his NFL career. And so when he gets rolling, it really helps them out. Now, the negative to that is really they've got nobody to throw the ball to, and George Kittle, as much as he's a great tight end, he can't carry that passing game. And he's going up against Seattle's defense, which started to pick it up. They do have a great defensive coordinator out there, or not, a head coach who's a defensive guy. That defense is on the upswing. So again, a little nervous about number 4, Mr. McCaffrey. But hey, if you drafted him high, man, good luck to you. But I'm not real confident in him ending up as the overall number 4 for the week 1. Number 5 is a guy who just continues to surprise and just when's the wheels are going to fall off this guy, and that would be King Henry, Mr. Derrick Henry. Okay, he's going at Buffalo. Buffalo has had a terrible run defense for years. They're a light defense. They play basically, they keep everything in front of them. Their defensive line, a lot of questions going into it. Their linebackers are small. The safeties, we don't really know what's going on there. So this is setting up to be a King Henry game, Sunday Night Football. We'll see how it goes. Remember last year in the regular season, King Henry smashed the Bills, just ran all over them. First play from scrimmage, he took it 87 yards for a touchdown, and basically never looked back. You know what I'm saying? So really like this guy going against Buffalo. I would probably have him higher than what he is at the 5 spot, but hey, go with it. So now my 2 sneaky picks that I have going here are C.J. Brown Chris Brown for Cincinnati. Again, going against Cleveland, I just think they got a terrible offense. They're not going to do nothing on offense, so that behoves the Bengals and Brown to get touches. I really see that game getting out of hand quick, and then basically Brown kind of doing the garbage time carries to kind of get that game over with and get him some, I hate to say it, garbage fantasy points, but hey, in fantasy it doesn't matter if they're garbage time or not. It's just how many points you score. So really like Chris Brown at Cleveland. The other one I have is another guy. He's high on some people's radars. He's a rookie this year, but again, it kind of sticks with another pick I did earlier with the quarterbacks. But R.J. Harvey at home versus Tennessee. Again, I just think Tennessee is going to be a terrible team this year. If they win 5 or 6 games, they'll be lucky. I think they're more looking at a 4-13 record. Again, love the Cam Ward pick. Think he could be a solid quarterback, but really there's not much talent on that team elsewhere. So we'll have to see how it goes. But those are my 2 sneak picks. So to recap, you got Bijan Robinson number 1, Barkley number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs number 3, Christian McCaffrey number 4, Derrick Henry number 5, and then my 2 sneak picks are Chris Brown and R.J. Harvey. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk about wide receivers now. So wide receivers, this guy absolutely smoked the league last year. In fact, he was one of the reasons why I won my Super Bowl title in my Dynasty League. Jamar Chase, he was unanimously number 1 across the board. Again, he's playing Cleveland. See back to Joe Burrow, Brown that I talked about earlier. I think Chase is just going to dominate. I just don't think Cleveland has an offense, so their defense is going to get worn out very quickly. Because if you can't sustain offense, your defense gets tired. It just doesn't work. So Chase, again, number 1 guy across the board. I can't argue with that. Based on his production last year, you're basically returning the whole offense, and on top of that, let's not forget that Cincinnati really doesn't have a defense, or it's not predicted to have a defense. So you're going to see a lot of 30. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to be a team that has to score 30 plus a game to stay in it because their defense is going to give up 35. I think you're really looking at like a 2000 Rams situation where, man, they can put a ton of points on people, but they can't stop anybody. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, number 2. Actually, these 2 guys tied. I put this guy at first based on what I think. So basically, the guys that tied after Chase were Lamb and Jefferson. I think you can't go wrong with either guy. Jefferson is questionable as of this moment, but I think he's definitely going to play. But Lamb, I just think Dallas has a terrible defense, and they're kind of in the Cincinnati Bengal conversation. They're going to have to put up massive points for them to be able to win, because basically their defense can't stop anybody. So really like Lamb, and think he's going to do really, really well against the Eagles. Now, I know the Eagles have a tougher defense. They absolutely smashed Kansas City the last time we saw them on the field, but they are going through some things. There are some changes on that. And again, if you're an elite number one receiver in the NFL, you should dominate a game like this. Again, opening game of the season, all eyes are on you. We should really do well. And the other thing too is, for those that really kind of know Dak Prescott, he kind of follows a pattern in his career where he gets injured, and then the year he comes back from injury, he just has a monster season. And I think without that monster season, Dallas is really in trouble. So then you go to Justin Jefferson, again, playing Chicago. I think the Bears have a good defense. They proved that last year. A lot of their problems weren't on defense last year. It was on offense, solid defense. And you got the J.J. McCarthy factor in effect there. You just don't really know how he's going to respond. And everybody's been talking positive things about him. Everybody's been saying positive things about him. But until you put him on the field and you watch him play in a real NFL game, you just don't know how he's going to respond. Don't forget, Jordan Addison has been suspended for the first 3 games, and T.J. Hawkinson's there. So he does have some targets, but pretty much he's the guy in the passing offense if they're really going to be successful. Even their running game, you're not sure about, because Jones is getting older. They picked up Jordan Mason from the 49ers. So what's their running game really going to be like? And so we'll have to see how it goes. So keep your eye on Jefferson, though. He is questionable. So just keep your eye on him and see how it goes with that and that. But so number 4 coming in is Malik Neighbors. Absolutely, he dominated as a rookie with Daniel Jones. With not a whole lot of help at the quarterback position there last year. Don't really know if Russell Wilson is an improvement, but again, he's average. He does okay. He does do the moon ball, so it really just depends on how Russell Wilson and that thing goes. I'm really excited to see when they put Dart in there, how that combination goes, but. Again, it's just question marks about the quarterback because really, if you don't have, you can have the greatest wide receiver in the world. If you don't have a quarterback to give him the ball, then you're really in trouble. So, anyways, okay. Number 5, finishing out for the rankings, is Amon St. Brown. This dude has just been a consistency of production in fantasy football. The guy gets it done year in, year out. 100 catches, 1,200 plus yards. Did a little bit better with touchdowns last year. The only real question you have with him is, Detroit's offensive line did lose some starters, so it presumably got worse. And then 2, they did lose that great offensive mind, Mr. Ben Johnson, going to the Bears and playing and becoming the head coach of the Bears. So really just curious how that offense functions now that Ben Johnson has left, and see how that whole team kind of comes together and see what they do. Because again, Jared Goff, solid starting NFL quarterback, but you can definitely see there's a difference when he has an elite offensive mind behind him versus, hey, he's just a starting NFL quarterback. So we'll see how it goes. Plus, I do believe, like I said, Gibbs is going to take a step up in that offense. Laporta, I think, should become a bigger part of the offense to help kind of expose things. And Jamison Williams, the other wide receiver for the Lions, he started coming on. He's the big play guy. He has deep threat speed. So basically, he could take the top off the defense, and Amon can kind of operate in his slot possession receiver role that he does so well at. So, all right. I actually have 3 guys for you for sneaky picks at the wide receiver position. My first one is Brian Thomas at home at Carolina. Again, I just think Carolina's going to be a terrible team. I think they're going to be good I think they're going to be decent on offense, decent on offense, but I think that defense is going to be trash. So again, Brian Thomas, he had a phenomenal rookie season last year, really came on. So I think he's going to build upon that. Really, his key to his breaking out in fantasy football is really going to be how Trevor Lawrence adapts and comes on in that offense. And does he become the prince and become worth that big money contract he got signed to by Jacksonville, or does he just prove to be a serviceable starter in the NFL? If he takes the step, I really like Brian Thomas this season, and especially in this game. The second one is A.J. Brown going against Dallas. Guys, again, I've said this before. I think Dallas's defense is absolutely trash. They have nothing there. I know the cornerbacks. Deron Bland, he had that great season where he had all those pick sixes and runs back, but other than that, he doesn't really rank on the deal. That contract they just gave him, I think, is going to age very poorly. Can't believe he got it. And then let's not forget their other starter they're hoping is Kyer Elam. Watched him in Buffalo for several years. Again, big Bills fan. Never saw anything that said he was the guy or he could help. But, changing systems, he still is young. Maybe he just fits a different style defense than the Buffalo defense, but he was very handsy, a lot of pass interference calls, a lot of holding calls, and you just can't get away with that in the NFL now. They want the offenses to they want the offenses to score points. So that old sticky style cornerback situation will get you in trouble and get you on the bench more often than not. So, okay, my next guy, again, sticking with the Denver Broncos, playing that terrible Tennessee team, will be Courtland Sutton. I think he's gonna build on that chemistry last year that he had with Bo Nix. Again, I think Tennessee's just a terrible team this year. So I think I think it's going to be one of those deals where Tennessee gets out ahead and they comfortably win that game, and Courtland Sutton easily goes for 100 yards and at least 100 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't see it happening. He's got great chemistry with Bo Nix. He's kind of hit his stride to where he's at. He just signed that contract. Going to be wanting to prove himself. So really like that. So to recap, the wide receivers, you got Chase, you got Lamb, you got Jefferson, you got Neighbors, and you got Amon St. Brown. And then the sneaky guys, Brian Thomas, A.J. Brown, and Courtland Sutton. Okay, so for tight ends, moving on to tight ends, the top five guys. Basically, you got Brock Bowers going at New England. I like that. I do like Geno Smith as a quarterback. Solid, serviceable starter. I think he'll do pretty well. That New England's defense, we'll see. They were okay last year. Variables coming on. They just signed a lot of free agents, but usually, I'll be honest, most free agent signings don't work out because there's a reason why there's a free agent. They are a free agent. Teams in this era have figured out how to keep their good players. So, love the defensive tackle they signed off the Eagles, but he wasn't a starter. And usually when you go from being a solid backup to a trying to maybe be a superstar starter, it just rarely ever works out, especially in today's NFL. So number 2 is the guy that just rewrote just had a phenomenal season last year, had a tough time getting in the end zone, but that's Trey McBride. He's going up against New Orleans. I think New Orleans is going to be trash. They have no quarterback. I'm sorry. Those rookies can try their heart out, but again, they have no offense whatsoever. The defense is not much better, so I don't see a whole lot going on there. So I think that's going to be a game that Arizona comfortably wins, and Trey McBride really puts some points up. Number 3 is an old standby, George Kittle. Going against Seattle's defense, again, a little nervous about that because there's not a whole lot to that San Francisco offense right now other than George Kittle, and George Kittle isn't the healthiest guy in the world, so he's more of a big play guy right now where he gives you some big booms. But again, there's really nothing else there. I mean, they're hoping McCaffrey comes back. They just traded for Brian Robinson, but the wide receivers are devastated right now. So really it's Kittle or bust, so we'll kind of see what he does. Going there. So we'll see. Number 4, Sam Laporta. Again, in that Detroit offense, they've got some pieces, they've got some deals. We'll just have to see how the setback comes from losing Ben Johnson as our offensive coordinator. Had a solid rookie season, a great rookie season. His second year, not as much, little injuries here and there. But again, I think he's definitely set up for a top 5 season, especially with there's so many offensive weapons there to kind of nobody can pinpoint on one guy and really go after it. So number 5, can't believe he made the list, but he won't go away. It's Mr. Swifty himself, Travis Kelce. Ended up in the 5 spot, kind of shocking. Again, guys, I love Travis Kelce. One of probably the greatest receiving tight end in the history of the NFL. Him and Tony Gonzalez. But I don't know what anybody really sees in him other than his namesake alone. Again, Kelce, fine guy, fine person, but really tough to kind of really get behind that based on what you saw last year, especially his last game of the season. He looked like an old guy. I think he's really coming back to get rid of the bad taste in his mouth of that whooping they received in the Super Bowl. So, and then now my 2 sneaky picks for the fantasy tight ends for week 1. Again, sticking with this Denver offense. Evan Ingram, I think he had a solid year last year with Jacksonville. He's proved to be a solid receiving tight end as long as he stays healthy. And I really like him moving into that role. If you remember, Sean Payton has been able to produce great tight ends. Jimmy Graham, in that Saints offense. So I really like that. And again, Tennessee, I just think is terrible this year. So I think Evan Ingram is set up for a solid day because I think Denver is just going to run all over. I think they're just going to run all over Tennessee. So easy blowout for that. And then my second one, did a little digging on this one, and so I came up with Jake Ferguson of Dallas going against the Eagles. Again, this kind of harks back to what I said. I think Dallas has no defense whatsoever, so that offense is really going to have to produce and put points on the board. And really, you got Lamb there, who's a clear number one. I don't think they have a running back in Dallas worth talking about. Serviceable guys, but nobody really, you get excited about. And then Pickens, man, talented guy, but you just know what you're going to get out of him. So to me, the top two receiving options in that offense are Lamb and Ferguson because they've both been there with Dak. They have the chemistry, they have the comfortability. So I really like that going there. So again, to recap the tight ends, Brock Bowers number 1, Trey McBride number 2, George Kittle number 3, Sam Laporta number 4, and Travis Kelce number 5. And the 2 sneak picks are Evan Ingram and Jake Ferguson. Ingram of Denver and Ferguson of Dallas. Okay, so moving on to the kickers. This one was a little bit more wide open. Really just depends on how you feel about kickers. Me personally, I don't like kickers who are on a fantastic offense because great offenses score touchdowns. They don't kick a whole lot of field goals. So you kind of want to find, like last year, unbelievable, the Kansas City Chiefs, they kicked 38 field goals last year. Makes sense, right? They did enough to win games. So that they're what I call a field goal offense where they kick more field goals. They don't score a whole lot of touchdowns. They do great between the 20s, but then once you really condense them into the red zone, it's easier to defend them because you can crunch them up and kind of discombobulate their offense. So, again, this kind of goes back. You got the Dallas kicker, Aubrey, going against the Eagles. Again, this goes back to I think Dallas is going to have to put up, they're going to have to score points to beat the Eagles. Their defense is just trash. So if they don't score points, they're not going to do a whole lot. Number 2 is the kicker from the Chargers, Dicker. He's playing KC. I really see that Friday night game as a field goal game. I don't think either offense really has a whole lot going for it right now. I think they're going to work things out. But I think that Slater injuries is really going to hamper the Chargers. And then I think, too, losing Rice and that Royals kid, I think that the Kansas City offense is going to take a second to find itself. But I think Kansas City is pretty much at the point now. They're just there to win games, and they don't care how they win them. They only care about what happens in January and February. That's all they play for. So I think it's another field goal season for them. The Chargers. So we'll see. Again, I'm not sold completely on the Chargers offense. I think they're a field goal offense. They'll do great between the 20s, but then once you get them in the red zone and you can kind of lock them up, you'll be able to turn them into a field goal offense. You got the number 3 guy this week is McLaughlin with Tampa Bay, playing Atlanta. Again, we'll see. The offensive coordinator left. Baker Mayfield had a great season. His receiver core isn't that great. Really, their best guy right now is Bucky Irvin, but I don't think they want to wear him out in week 1. It's a long season. He's a smaller back, so we'll see how it goes. So I like McLaughlin as a guy who's going to kick field goals until that offense really turns it on and they get going and they get those pieces back. McMillan, the other wide receiver, Godwin, he's not going to start the season, so there's not a whole lot right now to build off of chemistry there. So a good field goal offense there. Then you got the Detroit kicker Bates. Again, I think their offense takes a little step back, so I do think they kick some field goals there. I do see that happening there. Goff's got to prove that he's more than just a serviceable starter without having a genius offensive coordinator behind him. Really, McVay and Johnson just unbelievable. Really boosted him up. So now we'll see what we do. So I really like that. Will Lutz for Denver. It sticks with the Denver. I think it's going to be a rout. I think they're going to blow Tennessee out. So points galore. If it goes the way I think, they're going to run it up in the first half, and then in the second half, it's going to be a lot of R.J. Harvey and kicking field goals, just to grind the game out, get out of there, get out with a week 1 win, get out healthy, and move on. Okay. Now my two sneaky kickers are Little, the guy who booted the 70-yard field goal in the preseason. I know it's preseason, but the guy's got a cannon for him. He's going against Carolina. They're playing Carolina, so again, I don't think Carolina's going to be very good. Defense, I think, is going to be trash. Offense will be decent, but again, I think they're in still the rebuilding stages of getting better. So Cam Little, again, when you kick a 70-yard field goal, you're destined to get chances that other kickers just don't get for that deal. So the other one is Elliott with the Eagles playing Dallas. I think the Eagles are gonna. I think the Eagles. It's going to be a game where it comes down to probably a field goal at the end, maybe. Otherwise, I think the Eagles are just going to run away with it. And Dallas will score some points in garbage time. But Elliott actually finished just below Lutz in the actual deal. I think he on the way I did it, he finished one notch below. But yeah, so Elliott again. I think the Dallas defense is just absolute trash. Garbage, so pretty much I think the Eagles are going to move the ball up and down the field. Probably maybe the same thing where they get into a little shooting match in the first half, and then the second half the defense kind of gets control of Dallas. The offense just grinds it out, runs it out, kicks field goals to get out of there with a week 1 win. See how it goes. And it's week 1 Thursday night, so usually those games turn into be weird games, so it might be a 5 field goal night for Elliott or something like that. So, okay, so to recap for kickers, Aubrey with Dallas, Dicker with the Chargers, McLaughlin with Tampa Bay, Bates with Detroit, Will Lutz with Denver, and then 2 sneak picks, Little with Jacksonville and Elliott with the Eagles. Okay, now moving into the defenses. Basically, this team was the unanimous number 1 across the board of everything I looked at, which was the Denver Broncos. Again, sticks with the same thing. They're playing Tennessee. I think they're absolutely trash. I think they're garbage. As far as it's a rebuilding year for there, so I just and their defense last year was pretty good, better against they got off on the pass rush. I think they're really going to get after Cam Ward, cause some turnovers and things like that. So love the Broncos and defense against Tennessee. If you kind of noticed, there's been a theme of the Broncos in this video, talking about how great, how bad Tennessee is, and I think Denver is going to continue that momentum they built on last year when they really kind of got the pieces going together and moving forward. And they did have some great additions on that defense. So number 2, the Steelers going against the Jets. Man, I don't know what to say about the Jets. Their offense is going to stink. Garrett Wilson is a great wide receiver. I'd love to see him with an actual real quarterback. Justin Fields, man, love the guy, but if his legs aren't working and the running game isn't working, he doesn't do a whole lot in the passing game. So I just think that the Steelers are going to bottle up that running game, and then it's just going to slowly turn into a blowout. The only reason I don't say that is because the guy on the other side, Aaron Rodgers, isn't that great of a quarterback. He hasn't been in about 4 years. He's kind of riding on his namesake now more than anything. So again, number 2, the Steelers, Jets. I just see that as a perfect setup for the Steelers defense to have a good game. The number 3 team is the Eagles playing against Dallas. Again, the Eagles have all the great pieces. Fangio finally figured it out. He's really got a good defense. He's got great players. The key to the Eagles season is really going to be how they fill those holes for all the free agents that left and moved on, and do the younger guys they've drafted step into roles. Does Zach Braun continue to be an all-pro, or was he a one-year wonder? Those rookie corners last year they had, Mitchell and Cooper, do they take that next step, or do teams kind of, now they got game tape on them, they figure them out? The only thing nervous about it is they are going against the Dallas offense that does have offensive firepower in the passing game. So we'll really have to see how that goes. But I think this game turns into a shootout because basically Dallas has no defense. So little nervous about the Eagles, but if they can get after Dak Prescott, I think it changes it, because I don't see any running game in Dallas whatsoever. Again, all their running backs in Dallas are below average at best. Number 4 is the Cardinals. They're playing New Orleans. I mean, guys, come on. New Orleans has no offense. I think the Cardinals are going to blitz all day long and really get after it. The only thing I think that's going to save the Saints in that game is if they run the ball a lot and just kind of play ball control, keep it away from the Cardinals, and try to do the best they can. But again, when you're going with a quarterback like I think Skyler won the job out there. Yeah, I mean, don't have a whole lot of faith in that deal there. So, okay. Number 5 is the Vikings. They're going against Chicago. Little nervous about this pick, to be honest with you, because basically the Vikings, you know, their defensive coordinator was great at game planning last year, but they don't have a lot of real top talent on that defense. It's not a whole lot of top talent. They're not that great. It's really about scheme. So if you can figure out Flores' scheme, the Vikings become a very average defense. But the scheme is phenomenal. But really, when you just talk about Pro Bowl players or just blue chip players, they don't have them on that defense. I know Harrison Smith was there, but he's kind of long in the tooth now. Really, that defense last year was built on scheme, not on actual talent and players. And I do get nervous because they're playing Chicago, and Ben Johnson has a lot of good things going out there in Chicago. So if Caleb Williams takes a step, then look out now. I think that offense jumps to a top 10 offense easily if Caleb Williams, if Ben Johnson can do with Caleb Williams what he did for Jared Goff. So again, very nervous about the number 5 of the Vikings. So the last one. So my 2 sneaky picks for the defenses are the Texans going at the Rams. Man, they've got a pass rush and they get after it. And Matthew Stafford has a bad back, and he's really not practiced, and he's taking shots, and it's not. We're just in week 1, so I think if the Texans get after it, I don't see Matthew Stafford getting out of that game and finishing the game. I just don't. I really don't. And then this one's a little sneaky pick, and a lot of people probably aren't going to like it, but I got Miami at the Colts. I'm sorry, the Colts don't have a quarterback. And you can only hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor so many times a game before people are just going to put 9 men in the box and say, hey, load up. So that's kind of a sneaky one because, again, I don't – Daniel Jones is a below-average starter. He barely got the job from Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson, as much as I love him, he's kind of a worse Justin Fields than me. He can't pass the ball. And you can't have an NFL team if your quarterback can't complete passes. It just does not happen. So as a recap, we've got the Broncos, Steelers, Eagles, Cardinals, Vikings, and then my 2 sneak picks are the Texans playing the Rams, and then Miami playing the Colts. So that's really kind of what we got going on there. So hope everybody does well. Hope everybody does really, really good. Players, look for your sneak picks. Again, we went over the top 5 over a collective looking at the deal. So, and then last but not least, I do 2 fantasy leagues myself, and so want to kind of go over with you guys because I want to practice what I preach and show you guys. So in my Dynasty League, and this is a non-PPR league, Dynasty League, we play 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tight end, defense, and kicker. We do not have a flex player in this position. So for my Dynasty League, I'm looking at going with Caleb Williams at quarterback, King Henry at running back, Jonathan Taylor at running back, Jamar Chase at wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb as my other wide receiver, Trey McBride at tight end, Cam Little, the kicker for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the Steelers defense going against there. So that's my Dynasty League setup for week 1. I'll let you guys know how I do, win, loss, how we go with that. And then in my Yahoo League, which is a PPR league, now we do have some bonus points in this league and stuff like that. So we're not your standard set PPR scoring. We do have some bonus points for things for 100-yard pass and 100 yards rushing, 150 yards rushing, 60-yard touchdown, thing like that. But in my Yahoo PPR league, again, sticking with the program, I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. I really hope that Ben Johnson takes him to the next level. My receivers in that league. In this league we do quarterback, 2 wide receivers, running back, tight end, flex, kicker, defense. So flex in my PPR league, no flex in my Dynasty non-PPR league. So anyways, back to my starting lineup. Caleb Williams, I really think he's going to explode this year with Ben Johnson as his coach. I know he's not the offensive coordinator, so he's got to run the whole team. But I think he's going to put a good imprint on that offense. Then for my wide receivers, I got Lamb and Marvin Harrison. We'll see what Marvin Harrison done. Lamb, again, he's top 2, top top three in almost every draft you go with. My running backs are James Cook. A little nervous him going against Buffalo, but he's got to have a big game for the Bills to do well in that game. And then Bucky Irving going to Atlanta. Again, I nervous about the offensive coordinator change, but he did well last season, so I'm looking for solid production there. My tight end is Sam Laporta. Again, I think that Detroit offense is going to perform. Don't know if they'll do as well as they did last year, but I see him doing well this year. And then for my flex position, I decided to go with Cortland Sutton. Again, sneaky pick I talked about earlier in the video. Think he's going to do well against Tennessee. So easy hundo game and at least one dub for Mr. Cortland Sutton. And then again, my kicker, kind of a theme here, Cam Little. I just believe in the guy. I think he's going to turn into the next Justin Tucker with that leg he's got improved. And if he starts hitting them for 55 plus on a consistent basis, they're going to let him try it all the time. Why not? Why wouldn't you? The league is evolving to where kickers are going to start booting longer and longer field goals. I mean, I remember back in the day, a 50-yarder was crazy. Now we're talking 55, 60-yarders on a regular basis. And then my defense for this league is Houston. I think they're going to get after Stafford. I just don't think Stafford's going to survive the game. And if you knock Stafford out of that offense for the Rams, you're really going to see some things there change where that defense is just going to pin its ears back and go get it. Not sure about the Houston offense, but the defense is going to pin their ears back and go after Stafford. He's the old style drop back quarterback. He has no mobility left. So I'd be surprised if he gets through a whole season without being injured. So for the recap of my PPR Yahoo League, Caleb Williams at quarterback, CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver, Marvin Harrison wide receiver, Bucky Irving, James Cook at my running backs, Sam Laporta at tight end. My flex position, I'm going with Cortland Sutton. Cam Little is my kicker, and the Houston Texans is my defense. Again, we'll go over this. Probably do a follow-up video on Tuesday to kind of recap where everybody did, how everybody ended up, what points they scored, who were the top guys to finish out the week. But again, good luck, guys. Wish everybody the best for their fantasy season. Yep, it's going to be a fun one this year. Look forward to it. And, yep, we'll talk again soon. Have a blessed day. Go Bills.